Welcome back, Class 7 students. We have already started our half-yearly syllabus, and in the previous clippings we have discussed about the chapter the atmosphere, and these chapters are the part of air which is written in your NCERT book. I have told you that in your NCERT book only one chapter, that is air, is written, but we have to discuss about the different parts of air, like the atmosphere, the importance of atmosphere, structure, different elements of weather and climate, humidity, rainfall, etc. So that all the things are elaborately written in your private book. So that's why we have to discuss it. So our next chapter, previously we have discussed about the atmosphere. So today we will discuss about our next chapter. It is also the part of the air. So that is the elements of weather and climate. So let us start, students. So our chapter's name is Elements of Weather and Climate. So we must have to know that the weather and climate, and we have to also know the term, what is the meaning of weather and climate. So firstly we can say that suppose today, now the monsoon season is going on. So today what type of weather is it? Maybe it is hot or sunny day, or maybe it is in the monsoon season naturally we feel the cloudy weather, right? So there is a big difference between weather and climate. So what is weather? Actually, weather is a general atmospheric condition of one day, not a longer period of time, and it can changes every day, and it can also changes between day and night. Suppose in the 6 a.m. if we feel that it is very cloudy, then maybe in between 11 to 12 p.m. 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. maybe it will be next the sunny day. So weather can changes not a single day, it can also change hour to hour or minutes by minutes. So this is the main things about the weather, and it is the average record of atmospheric pressure, atmospheric temperature, amount of rainfall on a daily basis. But what is about climate? Climate is the total weather condition, or you can say the variations or differentiation over a longer period of time. Longer period of time, that may be 30 to 35 years. Okay, so climate is the average weather condition, and that may be 30 to 35 years. But weather is the daily condition of atmosphere. But there is a relation between weather and climate. Weather and climate both are the natural process which affect our lives. And the climate and weather, these two words, actually they are often thought to mean the same thing, but they are not the same. Weather is a day-to-day condition or daily condition of the atmosphere, and climate is not a daily condition. Climate is the sum total of weather conditions, or you can say variation over a longer period of time, that is 30 to 35 years. Weather and climate are controlled or influenced by certain elements. What type of elements? This is the main things of this chapter. That may be temperature, rainfall, atmospheric pressure, and humidity, and the last one is humidity. That means how much moisture is present in our atmosphere or air, that is known as the humidity. And number 1, temperature. What type of temperature in a day is, that is called temperature. How much amount of rainfall is happen, that is rainfall. And what type of pressure is the in atmosphere, that is known as atmospheric pressure. Later we will discuss it elaborately. So we must have to know the definition of weather and climate, and we have already discussed it. Weather is the general atmospheric condition of a single day. It can changes every day. So this is weather. And what is about climate? I have already told you that it is the sum total of the weathery condition of a longer period of time, that may be 30 to 35 years. Now we also have to read the relation between the weather and climate. What is the main relation? The main relation is that weather and climate both are the natural process, and it affects our lives. Then we have to focus on the differences between weather and climate. And you can say that weather is the daily conditions of atmosphere, and climate is the sum total of weather condition, and it's between 30 to 35 years. And we can say the weather as today is very hot, today the weather is cold, today is the rainy, we feel that today is a rainy day. So this term is naturally used for describing the weather. But when we say the climate, then we have to discuss that in class 7 we have practiced this diagram, right? And I have told you that suppose from this portion, if the sun rays are coming, then this area, you know that this area is known as the torrid zone, or this line is this 0 degree line, it is known as the equator. So when the sunlight comes in this area, and in this area only the sun rays come in a direct manner, in a straight line, you are observing it, in a straight line the sun rays are coming and fall in direct manner in this equatorial region. So this region always feels the very large amount of heat. So that type of climate is also known as equable climate. Okay. But we can also say that this region, this polar region, 90 degree north and 90 degree south, you know that in this region the sun rays are coming in which manner? Extremely slanting manner, that is not straight, right? So in this region, the places which are located in these regions, that feels the very extreme cold weather throughout the year. So we can say that in these places, when we describe that what type of climate is this, then we can say that extreme climate. Extreme climate. So this is the main term when we describe what type of climate of an area is. So this is also a difference. Then we can say that weather is the average record of atmospheric pressure, temperature, rainfall over a small area. And many times we have feel that suppose we live in the Agarpara, okay, and someone is living in the Barakpur. So if we are in a telephonic connection, then who lives in the Agarpara, they can say that now it is raining, but the difference is at the same time who lives in the Barakpur, they can also say that no, it's not raining. So this is the difference. Actually, it is a small area on a daily basis. It is not very mandatory that when the rainfall is happening, then throughout the West Bengal that is raining. This is not mandatory, because this is a weatheric condition, and it when the rainfall is occurs, then it will over a small area on a daily basis. But climate, it is on the aggregate of the atmospheric temperature, pressure or rainfall over a large area. This area is a very large area, which area is located in this equatorial portion. Throughout this area, the places receives the direct sun rays. So we can say that who are living this area, they can say that in our area the climate is equable climates. So this is also the main difference. Weather is the atmospheric conditions of a smaller area, but the climate is the atmospheric conditions of a larger area. So the atmospheric temperature or rainfall, it has a great impact, right? So atmospheric temperature, this temperature, it is also related with one term. What term? That is heat. There is a relation between heat and temperature. But heat and temperature, these two terms is not same. As an example, I can say that when we boil a pan of water, suppose in this place we are boiling a pan of water, okay. So the water is receiving heat through this fire, right? So when the water receives heat from or receives energy in the form of energy from this fire, that is known as heat. At that moment, if we touch this pan, then we feel very hot, right? But how much amount of temperature or how much amount of heat that pan receives, how much, when we convert it into unit like degree centigrade or degree Fahrenheit, then we can say that it is temperature. So heat is a form of energy. Any body when receives some heat, some temperature or some amount of hotness through fire or anything, at that moment that is convert into energy in form of some energy. When it is a form of energy, temperature indicates the hotness or coldness of substance, any substance. When this pan of water is nextly cools down, then it becomes cool. Then how much amount of coldness has that? Then we also convert it through degree centigrade or degree Fahrenheit. So that is known as the temperature. So this is the main thing. While heat is a form of energy, temperature indicates the amount of hotness or amount of coldness. When we convert it into degree centigrade or degree Fahrenheit, then heat transfer into temperature. Understand? And there are both diurnal and seasonal changes in atmospheric temperature. In many places on the earth, there is not only a difference in temperature between day and night, but also between one season and another season, because it's very natural that suppose in one day, in a single day, we don't feel the great amount of variation between day and night, right? But we feel the great variation between summer season and winter season. So we can say that this is the main difference between diurnal and seasonal changes. This is the main thing. But there is also a unique thing that is in the desert area. If anybody has gone into the Rajasthan, so you will feel that in the daytime in that desert area, the amount of temperature is a large, okay, and it may be 45 to 50 degrees centigrade, and it is a record temperature. But in the night time, that temperature fall in a great manner. So in the desert area, there is a great variation between day and night. Now we will discuss about the heating of the Earth's atmosphere. In which way our Earth's atmosphere is trapping the or absorbing the heat. Which heat? The energy of the sun rays. Suppose this is the Earth's surface and there is some water body. When the sun rays are coming into our Earth's surface, in land area or in the any water bodies or oceans, anything you can imagine. So, in which manner the Earth's surface is receiving the sun's energy, that is known as incoming solar radiation. I have already told you about it, and it's also called insolation. In this process, the heat energy radiated from the outer surface of the sun reaches the earth and hits it. This incoming solar radiation of solar energy is called the insolation. Now the Earth's atmosphere does not get heated directly. This is the Earth atmosphere and it does not get directly heated by the sun rays, because in this portion there is a atmosphere, or you can say the environment, and in this atmosphere there are different types of things, like different types of gases, different types of dust particles. So most of the solar radiation passes through it to the earth, and the earth being a solid, it is a solid surface, and always the solid surface trapped the heat in large manner. So the earth in turn causes the atmosphere to be heated. Okay, so the heating of the atmosphere takes place in the following ways. Number 1, through convection. Number 2, through conduction. Number 3, through radiation. Number 4, through advection. So these are the 4 different types of process by which our Earth's atmosphere or Earth's surface takes place in a heating manner. So firstly we will discuss about the heating through convection. So if we want to discuss about the convection, then we can say that it is a process in which the air comes in contact with the heated surface. If the sun rays are coming into the earth's surface, then which air is in near about the earth's surface, that air is also get heated. It gets heated too. So heated air being lighter than cold air. And you know that heated thing always goes to the upper surface. And cold air being heavier, because you know that cold air, this is heated air. This is heated air. And you know that, that heated air is lighter than cold air. So, this is cold air, and you know that cold air being heavier than heated air, it settles down, taking the place of the rising warm air. Actually in this place, when the heated air goes through the upper portion, then in this portion there is a fill in the blanks. Okay, as you will do the fill in the blanks. So for filling these blanks, the cold air come in this place. Cold air takes the place in the heated air. So this is the process in which the cold air being heavier settles down and the heated air rises in the upper portion. The warm air on reaching a certain height becomes cold and heavy once more and starts sinking. The transfer of heat through this movement of rising warm air and sinking cold air is called the convection. So this is the type of process in which process through convection the heated surface and the air also get heated by that. So the heated air also goes upper portion, and for filling the blanks, cold air, as it heavier than the heated air, so it sinks down. So this transfer of heat between heated air and cold air, that type of transfer is known as the convection. And the currents of moving air from thus are called the convection currents. Okay. Nextly, we will discuss about the conduction. What is conduction? Conduction is the transfer of heat from one body to another. Suppose it is a body. And it is the process of transferring. Number 1 and number 2. So it is the transfer of heat from one body to another when they are in a direct contact. These two bodies have to be direct contact. Okay. If the two things are in direct contact through collisions between the molecules of the two bodies, conduction is one of the ways that energy is transferred. The heating energy is transferred between the two bodies. Okay. And in this process, that energy is transferred from the earth's surface to the air. From the earth's surface to the air, because if this is the earth's surface and when this is getting heated by the sun rays, then which air is in direct contact of the earth, heated earth surface, By the conduction process, these two bodies, when transferred the heating energy with each other, the heated earth surface and the air, which is in very direct contact of this earth surface, when they transfer the heating energy, then that process is known as the conduction. So what is the common thing? That two bodies have to be in a direct contact. Thus, heat is passed on from the warmer earth to the cooler air. Warmer earth to the cooler air. However, air is a poor conductor of heat. So, as an example, we can also say that on a cold, windless day, if a series of thermometers are mounted at a different heights above the ground, we will see that air temperature falls rapidly with height, because we know that when the height is increasing, then the temperature falls. So why? Because this is due to the poor conductivity of air. Air is a very poor conductivity of, okay. So this is the process of conduction. Nextly, we will discuss about the radiation. Radiation is our third method by which heat is transferred to the atmosphere from the earth is through radiation. Radiation is energy that is transmitted from one body to another in the form of rays. So there is a relation between conduction and radiation. In the both process, the heat is transferred between two bodies. In the conduction process, when heat is transferring between two bodies, and it had to be in a direct contact. But in the process of radiation, that process has some similarity with conduction. But in this process, in the radiation process, that is transmitted from one body to another in the form of rays or waves. The earth absorbs heat from the sun and it then gives off this heat in the form of infrared rays. Infrared rays, which are absorbed by the atmosphere. And heat it up. So this is the process of radiation. Okay. Now lastly, we will discuss about the advection. Actually, all these four processes are interrelated. All these four processes are interrelated. In both these processes, the heat is transferring. Now, through advection process, it is transferring of heat from one region to another region. If one region has warm air and the another region if have the cold air, then when the warm air, you know that air is a blowing in manner, so when the warm air goes in this region, then the cold air becomes hot due to this warm air, and when the cold air goes to this region, then also the heat is transferred in very low amount of heat. That's why its name is cold air. So when it comes into this heated portion, so with that, at that moment, the warm air is also becomes the cold air. So when warm winds mix with cooler winds, heat energy is passed to form the warmer winds to the cooler winds through the process of this advection. Advection usually involves the large scale horizontal transfer of energy. This is the transfer of energy in a horizontal manner, because in this process the heat is transferring from one region to another region, not in direct manner, not in vertical manner. That's why this is the transfer of heating energy in a horizontal manner. For example, when cold polar winds mix with and cool the warmer air of the tropics, because you know that in the tropical area the sun rays come in a direct manner, but in the polar area the sun rays are coming in a slanting manner. So that's why this is the main example of the process of advection. Now we will discuss about some factors which affects our atmospheric temperature. What are that? Number 1, latitudes. Number 2, altitudes. That means height from sea level. That is known as altitude. Then the distance from the sea. Then what is about latitude? For knowing this, we have to explain this diagram. And you are very much familiar to this diagram. I have discussed it again and again. You know that the sun ray strikes the surface of the earth at different angles from the equator to the poles. From the equator, that is 0 degree, to the poles, that means 90 degree north, or you can say 90 degree south. In the equatorial region, equator is the biggest latitude, you know. So in the equatorial region, that receives the sunlight in a direct manner. But in the polar region, it falls in very slanting manner, extremely slanting manner. So this is the main thing. The same amount of sunlight that is focused on and heats a smaller area at the equator strikes the ground obliquely at the higher latitudes and is thus spread out over a larger area. So the heating provided by the same amount of the sunlight is more in the equatorial region and much less in the higher latitudes, that means in the polar region. Hence the temperature is decreases sharply towards the poles. That explains why there is a permanent cover of ice at the poles. It also explains why these two polar regions, North Pole and South Pole, is covered with ice throughout the year. Because that region receives the sunlight in extremely slanting manner. So latitude, in this way, our latitude, different types of latitudes, you know that there are 181 latitudes. So different latitudes affects our atmospheric temperature in a great manner. Now we will discuss about the altitude. In summer, people prefer to go to places in the hills to escape the heat. You know that in the summer vacation of our school, always we prefer any hilly area to feel the coldness of that area. This is because temperature decreases with increase in altitude. Suppose it is Kolkata and this is Darjeeling. So this area, and suppose this is the sea level, or you can also say the base level. Okay, so which place is in longer altitude? That is Darjeeling. Darjeeling is located in the higher altitude than Kolkata. Kolkata is near to the base level or sea level. So we can say that in the troposphere, the temperature we have already discussed it in the troposphere, in which sphere all the weather or climatic phenomena is happen. So in the troposphere, the temperature decreases at the rate of 1 degree centigrade every 160 meter. And it is also known as lapse rate. I have already discussed it. This happens because air is densest near the ground. So in Kolkata, the air is densest than Darjeeling. The denser the air, the more is the heat that is trapped. So Kolkata trapped more heat than Darjeeling. The thinner the air, the more is the heat that escapes, that is Darjeeling. So more the altitude of a place, Darjeeling is located in higher altitude. So more the altitude of a place, the colder it will be. So that's why Darjeeling is colder than Kolkata. Understand? Nextly, we will discuss about the distance from sea, and it has a great impact. Places along the coast, that is near the sea or ocean, usually experience moderate climate. Moderate climate means neither too much hot, moderate. This term is related with neither too much hot nor too much cold. That is known as moderate climate. Okay. Where the range of temperature is not high, unlike in landlocked regions. Coastal region is a landlocked regions. This is because coastal regions experience the moderating effect of the sea. Land gets heated faster. These two diagrams are very important, that is sea breeze and that is land breeze. At the night time we feel land breeze and in the afternoon we feel the sea breeze. So land gets heated faster because land is a solid substance. Solid substance always trap the heat in a larger amount. But it also cools down faster. These oceans, this is the water bodies, okay, where I have written the cool and warm. So this is the water bodies, or you can imagine as ocean. So oceans take a long time to heat up, but once heated takes longer time to cool down. So when coastal areas heat up, winds from the sea cool it. Winds from the sea cool the and wants to cool the land area. When the coastal areas cools down, heat is transferred from the still warm oceans to the land, warming it. So this both processes are same, but when the winds coming from the oceans, that is known as sea breeze. When the water goes to the ocean or water body, then that wind is known as land breeze. Okay. These two diagrams are very much important. We have mostly completed this chapter, that is weather and climates, and we have already discussed about some elements and by which process our Earth's atmosphere is getting heated and some factors which affects the temperature. Now we will lastly discuss some important terms which are also related with the weather and climate, that is prevailing winds. What is about prevailing winds? Prevailing winds are planetary winds that are caused by the formation of giant convection cells. In the previous chapter, I have told you that convection cells are occurred in the very lower portion of the Earth's surface, over the Earth. So prevailing winds blow from the hot regions of the Earth like the tropics. So this diagram, you know it. This is the hot region. From this region goes to this polar region, and that cold air is also come to this region. In the southern hemisphere also, the warm air goes to the polar region and the cold air for filling the blanks comes to this hotter places. So prevailing winds blow from the hot region of the earth like the tropics and to the cold areas of the earth like the temperate, or you can say polar region, and from the cold areas back to the hotter regions. Winds from warm regions increases the temperature of the cold places they blow into, and winds from the cold region reduce the temperature of the hot places they blow into. So this is known as the prevailing winds. Nextly, we will discuss about another term, that is ocean current. And the process we have already read, that is known as the advection. This process has a great impact in ocean currents, because in the advection process we have discussed that heat is transferring from one region to the another region. So in the ocean currents, we in river, or you can say in the oceans, of hot or cold water that flow within the oceans. Winds that blow over hot ocean currents get heated and carry that heat onto the land they blow over, raising the temperature of the coast there. Similarly, winds that blow onto land after passing over cold currents lower the temperature of that coastal region. Suppose in this area, the air, if the air is getting heated, so the ocean currents, it also the hot current or warm current. And in this area, suppose the air has nothing that type of temperature, it has low temperature, so the ocean water will be cold current. Okay, so when that portion of water goes to that region, cold region, then that at that process the heat transfers hot to cold. When the cold current comes into this region, then also heat is transferring through advection process. So this is the main importance of the ocean currents. And you know, there is two types of current, hot current and cold current, or you can say warm current and cold currents. And through the process of advection, the heat is transferring from hot region to the cold region and turns the water into hot to cold or cold to hot. Now our question is, how our atmosphere is getting heated in a great manner, and who are responsible? Yes, human beings are the main responsible for this. Number one, we can say that urbanization. Number two, concretization. Number three, deforestation. So we can say that now all of our wish that to be settled in a urban area, not in village area. So we want to be in a great amount of urbanization, and the concrete and tar roads and high-rise buildings that make up the urban concrete absorb the heat, because I have told you that solid things always absorb heat in a large manner. So that absorbs heat in a great manner and radiate it back into the Earth's atmosphere. So the heat gets trapped in the lower layers of the atmosphere and increases the atmospheric temperature. Then automobile and industrial emissions. Our fourth point, we can say that industrial emissions. And the indiscriminate cutting down of trees, that is known as deforestation, have also been responsible for the increase in atmospheric temperature and the increase of global warming. So who are responsible? We are responsible for this. So what is our duty? Our duty is to minimize all the things. If it can be done by us, then it would be helpful for us and for our future generation. So this is our duty, to save our environment, to save our world. So that is the main things of this chapter. I think I am clear and you have also understood this chapter. So thank you.